We have a potential date for Nvidia's newest GPU that's going to be releasing. I think that they should cancel it. They've done it before. I mean, with the 4080 12GB, they completely changed that to a 4070 Ti. While it wasn't canceled, they changed the product stack a little bit. That's what's been happening on sort of Nvidia's products this generation. They are shifting the product stack around, and it's not good for us consumers and us gamers. For example, look at the RTX 4070. Most people who look at the specs, they're like, this is basically a 4060. So even though $599 seemed like they didn't go up a huge amount from the $499 3070, if you factor in that they went up to $599 and then they're giving you what really probably should be a 60 class GPU, that GPU then probably went up around what, $200 if you give it like the real analysis. But obviously, if they call it a 4070 and tell you what they want it to be, that's what we have to take at face value, right? Not really. The problem with the newest GPU that's coming out continues with the specifications and the pricing. If Nvidia thinks they can price this GPU at $499, 4060 Ti, they're going to have a very tough time selling that many units. I can tell from absolutely every single comment that I get on videos for the latest GPUs, not only on my channel, but across the board. It's not even that I complain about Nvidia. If you look at every major tech outlet, you're going to find similar complaints about Nvidia across the board, that they're giving us specs that are really, dumbed down a considerable amount. The pricing went up way too much. Even if we count in inflation and all of the issues with the economy, it's way too high. This is going to be one of the primary reasons when I think they should flat out cancel the 4060 Ti. Are they going to do it though? I'm going to tell you the reasons why the 4060 Ti will be unpopular, and I think by the end, I think you guys are pretty much going to agree with me. But first, let's segue into our sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Jawa.gg. Jawa is a terrific place where gamers can have a community where they can discuss, buy, sell, and even plan the builds that they're doing. Something that's going to be very important in the current PC building climate that we are in now. They have verified sellers if you'd like to put something together and have a build done for you, or you can purchase your own parts. You don't have to worry about scalpers here. They have a nicely curated market, and a lot of the sellers have really good pictures as well as selling information to make sure that you're getting exactly the product that you want. They also offer a GPU buying program if you don't want to go through the hassle of selling to an individual, where you can get a quote for your GPU. So remember to check out Jawa. Use the link in the description below, welcome 10, and you'll get a nice $10 discount off of your first order. And now let's go back to the video. So here are pretty much the damning reasons why the RTX 4060 Ti should be canceled. If Nvidia can't give us a good price and good specs on the hardware side, they shouldn't even release it at this point. There are more than enough GPUs around this type of price class from last generation that people can still pick up that in some cases may even be superior. Problem number one, 8 gigabytes of VRAM. We should not be having a GPU that's anywhere near the $500 range with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. What if Nvidia prices it at $399? Well, that's the only time that they're going to have even a little bit of a chance at not making absolutely everybody mad. Even at $399, it's a tough sell for an 8 gigabyte GPU. A lot of people feel that 8 gigabyte GPUs should be relocated to maybe $300 and under, or at least $350 and under. That should be something that maybe is like a 4050 class, or at most a regular 4060. But at something with a 4060 Ti moniker, especially considering that the 4060 Ti traditionally, something like the 60 Ti class is supposed to be fairly close to the 70 class. Look at the 3060 Ti compared to the 3070. They weren't really all that far apart. The 3060 was a lot further apart in terms of traditional rasterization, even though it had more VRAM, but the 60 Ti and the 70 were traditionally a little bit closer. Now, if Nvidia gives this one 8 gigabytes of VRAM, that's already a world of difference away from the 4070, which only has 12 gigabytes to start with. This is going to be the major major problem. People don't even really want to pay $399 for a 8 GB GPU. Yes, it's going to be extremely power efficient. The power is going to be even better than last generation, so that's a positive point that I'd like to point out. We have to see where it will shine, of course. If you want to play DLSS 3 games, it does have that technology. It's going to be the cheapest GPU that will give you DLSS 3, but one caveat here. While DLSS 3 works really well in certain games, it's not every single game, and sometimes you need really powerful hardware to begin with to make those gains really worth it. For example, if you're going to play Cyberpunk or Hogwarts and you have a 4090 and it's already getting decent frames per second, like at 4K, you turn on something like path tracing, that's going to tax even a 4090. If you have DLSS 3, you're going to get, playable performance on a 4090, but then what about like a 4060 Ti? You're not going to be able to do the same things with DLSS 3 because the frame rate is going to be too low to begin with a lot of these ultra and higher intense settings. It's going to pump up your frames per second, but only in certain scenarios where it's already decent to begin with. Like if you're starting off at 50 or 60, then it's reasonable to expect it to go up. Sometimes it doubles it. Sometimes it may go up to like 80 or 90 depending on the game. But if you're getting like 10 to 20 frames per second with, high settings at a little bit higher resolution, 4060 Ti's DLSS 3 likely will not help you very much until Nvidia has their, technology like the neural textures and things like that, which will give you a lot more performance for the VRAM in their mainstream products. Until that happens, we're not going to see, better VRAM for a very long time. Every single game that's come out recently seems to have issues with the amount of VRAM, and if you're going to start off with 8 GB of VRAM, that's going to limit you from playing, even at 1440p, a lot of these games that have higher texture packs. Forget about ray tracing, you're going to have to turn that off in most titles if you want to take advantage of smooth gaming performance. It's not only the VRAM amount on the 4060 Ti that's an issue, everything else tied to the VRAM performance, if you will, is a big problem. It's only a 128-bit memory bus. The memory bandwidth is very, very constrained. Compare that to even the 3060 Ti, which had better memory bandwidth, and that's the, how fast you can pass through that information, especially at higher textures, a little bit higher resolution like 1440p. You're going to start to have some serious issues. Even though this GPU is power efficient, the specs that you're getting, it feels more like a lower class GPU than what you really should be getting for that price. So we can agree that even $399 is a bit of a tough sell in today's market for 8 GB of VRAM, but we don't even know if Nvidia really has any plans to price it at that. If it's anything above $399, that's the premise of this video. I think they should cancel it. $499, absolutely forget about it. If we look at the $499 price, does that make any sense? Well, if you go by Nvidia's pricing of the 4070, which is $599, and you look historically, the 60 Ti has traditionally been about $100 less. So that means that this 4060 Ti, if everything was normal, should be $499, right? Well, let's analyze things further. 4070 is not selling at $599. It's stuck on shelves basically every single place that you look. So yeah, Nvidia could release it at $499, but it's going to suffer a worse fate than that 4070. Even when they had a $100 gift card from Micro Center, it sold a couple more units, but it still got way, way far from selling in any significant numbers. So that's the problem the 4060 Ti will have. There were rumors recently that you may get a 16 GB version. That's likely not to come out yet. What we know about the 4060 Ti is that it might come out at the end of the month, according to that, leaked rumor that we saw, but that of course can change. That could be when Nvidia announces it, but I think it should be soon. If it's not by the end of the month, we should definitely see that GPU by next month or something like that, if I were to guess. And a 16 GB version, as previous rumors suggest, would come way after, maybe like July or something like that. Maybe Nvidia would want to see the reception first of that 8 GB 4060 Ti, but they don't even have to wait. I'm going to tell you right now and save you all that marketing money. Don't release it if it's anything above $399. At $399, it's going to be a tough sell already, but anything above that, you should just cancel it. It's just going to upset everybody. It's not going to make any sense. Even at $399, it's going to struggle. It's not something that people really want to pay for an 8 GB GPU. If you had a 16 gigabyte 4060 Ti or even 12 gigabyte if you change the memory configuration a bit, then you could see it going easily for $399 and maybe even like $450 or something like that. But even 16 gigabytes is going to be a tough sell at $499 because after all, you're still getting less performance than a 4070. And if people aren't buying that for just $100 more, why would they buy a 4060 Ti? So these are the primary issues that Nvidia really has to factor in. It may be better for them to just cancel or delay it. There are more than enough RTX 3000 GPUs still on the shelves to fill in that gap between any GPU that's basically under the RTX 4070. Sure, you're not getting their newest product release or DLSS 3 or the power efficiency, but you're also not going to get, 8 gigabytes of VRAM on a new GPU in 2023. It's one thing to have it on a 3060 Ti from a few years ago, and if you can get that cheap enough, like on the used market, you pick one up for under $300, that's not a bad deal overall, but it's something else completely to pay $400+ on a new GPU in 2023. That's why Nvidia really has to analyze what they're doing here. Either release it for a cheap price if those are the specs that you're going to have, or they should just cancel it or postpone it until the GPU market changes and it's a little bit more agreeable. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Is the 4060 Ti doomed from the start? Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.